Hello and welcome to this video. Today what we are going to be doing is a Makgeolli flatbread. This is going to be an unleavened flatbread due to the fact that the amount of alcohol that's in Makgeolli, especially my homebrewed Makgeolli, is very, very unfriendly to bread yeast. They don't get along real just bad. So what I'm doing is I'm taking some elements from a Lebanese flatbread recipe that I use, and I'm incorporating it into this recipe. I've experimented with this off and on, and I've come up to a recipe that I like, that I enjoy. Play with it. Don't necessarily use Makgeolli. Use another type of alcohol, beer, wine, whiskey, whatever. This is just simply what I do. This will give you a good base to start thinking. So, without further ado, we'll get started. In this bowl here, what I have is a tablespoon of olive oil, 2 teaspoons of garlic, or crushed garlic, and a half a teaspoon of salt. And we're going to take this and ground pepper. We've got a half teaspoon of ground black pepper in here too. So we're going to take and dump this in our bowl here first. The reason why I'm putting this in first is I'm going to have to use some of my Makgeolli. I'm going to put it in here, wish it around a little bit. And yes, my hands are clean. I wash my hands and sterilize before I do that, because I know there's times I'm going to have to touch my food products. So I make sure and get all that done beforehand. And what we're going to add now is we're going to add a half a cup of Makgeolli. I'm going to put this in here. And what we're going to do is I'm going to turn the bowl because I can't get the angle of my second camera right. And all we're going to do is we're going to mix that in there real good. So we got something like about like this. See, I can get that in there. See? Then we're going to stir this with our whisk real good. We're going to let that alcohol work on that garlic and black pepper and salt and oil. We're going to let them do their work. It smells really good, by the way. It smells really Italian. But we're going to do this, stir it around, stir the bowl, swish it around. Get all that working together. What I forgot to do is, because when I'm going to add a half a cup of bread flour. And when you use the bread flour, it's going to start absorbing it, and I'm going to have to add a little bit of Makgeolli, but I forgot to set my Makgeolli bottle over here on my work surface. So I'm going to have to get that real quick. We're going to continue. That alcohol is going to be working on our stuff, and I'll be right back. Okay. We're going to take a half cup of bread flour. I use bread flour because a lot of breads that I make specifically call for bread flour. For this particular recipe, you don't have to. You can use all-purpose flour. You can use just regular general-purpose flour, all-purpose flour, just regular baking flour. Any old flour will work. What I want to do in the future is I want to try this recipe using rice flour and Makgeolli and see what I get. But until then, we'll go ahead and we'll put our flour in and continue to use our whisk. And what we'll do is we want, see, the batter, the flour soaking up the liquid. So what I want to do is I want to add just a little bit more Makgeolli. if I can get it open. There we go. Add a little bit more makgeolli. What I want is a batter, kind of about the consistency of a pancake batter is what I'm shooting for. So we're gonna a little bit more makgeolli in there. And don't worry about adding too much liquid because you can always add more flour. There we go. That's about what I want. Put this up here. See, about like this. Now I just got to whisk it, get all the lumps out. Then I'm going to let it set for about 30 minutes. Let that alcohol and let the acids and the alcohol work on this pepper and its salt and that garlic. And I'm going to let that the fats in the olive oil are going to work on it too and get a really good flavor. Then we'll come back in about 30 minutes and we're going to add the rest of our flour and we'll make our dough ball. Okay, we are back. It's been about 35-40 minutes. So what we're going to do is we're going to add our 1 cup of flour. And we're going to take a wooden spoon and we're going to start stirring it in until we start to get this here. What we want eventually is a nice dough ball. We want it to be fairly, it wants to stick to the side of the bowl, but you don't want it to stay. It's just that with just enough moisture in it to where it wants to stick, but it doesn't have enough strength to stick. So that is what we get a very nice. See, there's very little flour on the edge of the bowl. So at this point, what we're going to do, as I was saying, now what we're going to do is we're going to take our flour and we're going to lightly flour a cutting board. And we're going to transfer our dough ball to our cutting board. Over here. But what we're going to need it, we're just going to knead it. Probably 30 seconds to a minute. We just want to work all that flour in. Yeah, you want it. Basically what we're doing, we got a good dough ball. You don't want to work it much more than a minute, minute and a half maximum. But you want it where it gets a little bit, when you touch it, it kind of reacts. So this is our dough ball. Now what we're going to do with our dough ball is we're going to put it back in our bowl. And we're going to hit it with a little bit of olive oil. Then after we olive oil it, we're going to put it in a bag and put it in the refrigerator for 24 hours. Minimum, you can go as low as 8 hours, but 24 hours is a good. It lets your garlic and your salt and your oil all work together. It absorbs into the flour, absorbs into the dough real well. There's no real maximum length of time. I'm going to use a air vac bag that way. simply because I'm out of Ziploc bags. If I had a Ziploc bag, I go ahead and put it in the Ziploc bag and just be done. Gonna put a little bit of oil in the bag and do that. But first, let's get to I forgot to bring my olive oil over, so once again, I gotta go get it, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I have my olive oil. Hit it with a little bit of olive oil. Go there. We just want to cover it. Then in my freezer, or in my air vacuum bag thing, I put a little bit of olive oil in it. So that's just going to keep it from sticking to the bag. Well, what I did do yesterday, in anticipation for this video, I did go ahead and I have a dough ball that is going to be ready to pull out and be cooked. So we'll get that set up and be back in a little bit. Okay, and we're back. We are ready to start cooking. Like I said, this is dough that I prepared yesterday to be cooked today. What I'm going to be using is a tortilla press to press out my breads. You can use a rolling pin. You can use 2 flat books, 2 things that are flat and got relatively good weight to them. You don't have to use a tortilla press. That's what I got. That's what I like using. It's just easy for me to do it. So what we're going to do, I took my loaf out. I let it come to temperature when I was doing the first part, room temperature, when I was doing the first part of this video. Now what I have here are, I broke it up and made little balls, a little bit bigger than a golf ball. And what we're going to do is I've got parchment cooking bags. And basically all I do with those is I cut the sides out where I could flap it like this. I put my dough ball in, put it down, use that way you've got a good surface, and what you should have is a fairly flat round that did not come out for whatever reason. So, back to the drawing board. We will do it on a that didn't work out real well. So what we're going to do is we're going to flour. I'm going to use some general purpose flour. I'm going to flour this here. I'm going to press it out, hand press it. Put the flour on so it don't stick. Yeah. Sometimes it does that. But we'll go ahead and hand press it. There we go. Got it fairly thin. We'll take it, put it over here on our burner. Let me adjust the camera here. This is a cast iron griddle. You want to use cast iron, and you want it to be dry. You'll see as it cooks, you'll see little bubbles begin to form, and you want that. You want those little bubbles. Forgot to grab my spatula. So that's what we're going to do. And I've got to balance this because the smoke detectors in my house are really sensitive. So I bring this up to start smoking. I got to turn it off, cook it. When it starts to get too cool, turn it back on, heat it back up, and it's And it looks like it's cooking. I don't think I had it up hot enough yet. I don't know if you can see it in the video or not, but you're starting to get a little bit of rise and stuff in it. Let's go ahead and flip it and see what we got. It's starting to get... Yeah, it's cooking. Not as thin as I want it to be. I really didn't expect it to go awry. And the tortilla press, it does that sometimes. Don't know why. Most of the time, probably about 99% of the time, it works right. It just, every now and again, you get a batch dough that when you hit it with the tortilla press, just smears like that. Okay. Flip it again. Oh yeah, we got something good going here. Like I said, it's not near as thin as I was hoping to be. I may do. That's what I'll do. We'll go ahead and do one with the rolling pin, and we'll see what the difference in doing it with the rolling pin and doing it with your hands. And we already saw what happens when I did it on tortilla press, so it is what it is. Something else. Yeah. You want 2 plates, preferably ceramic or glass. What you want is you're going to put it over there and you're going to let they're going to steam. Now, this discoloration here, that's something you want. You want that on, that's letting you know it's cooked. It's going to add a little bit of flavor. I just had to turn off the stove for a second, let it cool down. So, and what we do is we're going to take our plate. I'm going to take this here and put it here. Things here. And I'm going to reset the camera and we'll roll one out with a rolling pin. Okay, what you want to do is you want to put a little bit of flour on your rolling pin. You want to flour your rolling pin. Get it so the dough doesn't stick so much to your pin. Then you spread out your dough on your surface. You take, this guy looks good. You're going to press it out. What I'm going to do is press it out with my hand first to try to keep, because I'm not real adept at keeping a good round shape when I use a rolling pin. So do this here, flip it over, and we'll roll it out. See, this is going to be more of a rectangle than it is going to be a round. So but this is going to be much thinner. This is going to be much thinner than the first one I did. So take it. Try to get a consistent evenness on this, and just wanting to stick to. Okay, I'll take this, put it on here. It starts to tear. Go ahead and turn our stove back on. bring this up to here. Watch it cook. Get a little bit. There we go. Like I said, this is going to be thinner, and it's already hot, so it's going to cook a little bit quicker. And there we go. That's a finished, completed one with that method. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to finish cooking these. Then we'll sit down and have a taste test. Okay, we have finished cooking all of our breads. What I did is I prepared two of the smaller ones the way. One of a really quick lunch thing that I do. Basically, all I did was take and rubbed in a little bit of olive oil, hit it with some mozzarella cheese and a little pepperonis, and make like a little pizza taco. The rice and the makgeolli lends itself really well for doing stuff like this. Something else, believe it or not, even with the garlic and the salt and the black pepper added, this right here, I'm not even going to try to pronounce it. My wife's better at it than I am. It's basically goat's milk and caramel. Goes really good. You heat it up, put this on it, let it soak in. Good stuff. The something when you brew with rice, it takes flavor real well. It accepts flavor. It does a really nice job, and I really enjoy it. Makgeolli, not only is makgeolli great to drink, makgeolli is great to cook with. It's got a high enough alcohol content that the alcohol will act as a tenderizer. It will act as it will break down herbs and release more flavor into things. Like I said, I really enjoy makgeolli. Is just one of those alcohols that's all around. It's a very useful alcohol outside of drinking it. So, with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video, even with all the foibles and mess ups. I was fairly ill prepared to do this video because I'd practiced this recipe, played this recipe, toyed it, and done it so much. There's a whole lot of things that I did automatically that I just didn't think about having set up beforehand to do the video. And that was totally my fault. So here's to you. Hope you enjoy it. I hope you experiment and play with it. Peace. Go. Good job.